Hello and welcome to this episode of How to Be a Great Player. Today's episode looks at a question that was posted on www.greatgamemaster.com. And the question was, how do you stop your brain from suffering from burnout during a session? You've all had it where you're busy playing and the DM says, "What do you do?" And you go, and then you look at your character sheet and you look at your companions who just look blankly back at you because they all know what you should do and you just don't. Or you just don't care. Well, burnout happens to everybody. We all start to suffer occasionally from that. Just our brain doesn't want to work when telling stories, whether it's about our character or anything else for that matter. So how do we avoid burnout? Well, one of the biggest things that I've come across with people who suffer from burnout is people who try and run or play too many games. Now, just how much is too many? Well, there's no hard and fast rule for it, but I would say that if you're doing more than 3 games in a week, you're probably going to suffer from burnout, especially if those games are set in similar settings, your characters are similar to one another, or if you're playing the same character in 3 different games. If you're playing more than 3 games a week, that means that you don't have much time to process what's happening in between. Now, that in-between process time is very important, and a lot of people seem to forget about it. You don't just play the game for the 3 or 4 hours that your game time happens to be running for. You play the game outside of those times as well. You may just not know it. Your brain likes to process the story, work out the links, work out the when this NPC said that, why did he say that? Why did I react like that? When she did this with that phaser, why did I do this? Why did I do that? So your brain is still processing what's going on, even if you are not aware of it. Now, if you're running consecutive games, or if you've got games stacked up after one another, you simply can't process it. Try watching 3 or 4 feature films back to back in the same day. I guarantee you're going to struggle to remember what was happening in the middle 2, and if you were asked to describe creatively any of them, you might be hard-pressed to do so. Your brain hasn't processed it yet. We're fairly slow creatures. So you've got to give your little grey cells an opportunity to work out just what did that she-dragon mean and why is it relevant to your character. So the first point of advice is if you're starting to suffer from burnout, I would suggest you have a look at how many games you're actually playing in. If you're playing in quite a lot a week, well, I think it's time for you to cut back. I would say no more than 3 games. I run 2 games a week, and occasionally I have an urge to run a third, but I would rather play in a third. It's a different kind of thinking, at least to my mind anyway. But maybe cutting down games isn't an option, or maybe you are only in 1 or 2 games and you're still suffering from burnout. So what do you do to reinvigorate yourself? Well, apart from taking a break, which can and is sometimes advisable anyway, take 2 weeks off, just to let your brain catch up, and also to let the other players get an opportunity to reflect on their characters. And during that break, you can still engage in conversations with your fellow players about what you think and how you feel the game's been running and those kind of things. It just means you don't actually play. So taking a break from time to time can be really useful. Another technique that I've found that works quite well is if you try and look for why you wanted to create that character in the first place. What brought you joy about being that character? What were some of your great moments? If you think back, oh, when she did this, I loved her when she did that. She was so awesome. Think back on things that your character's done that's inspired you, or that was surprising to you as the player, where suddenly your character just wanted to do something and you went with it, and it turned out to be absolutely awesome. You can also think back on times when things were very sad or depressing or perhaps even a little bit uncomfortable and it took you out of a space that you were used to being in. So in other words, find things about the character that got you to like them. And if you can't find anything, don't lament. Remember, you're trying to ease up your mind from being locked in this, I don't know what to do. Another thing that I have found that works very, very well is to describe your character to somebody else. Find someone, whether it's a stranger on a bus or a train or in an aeroplane where they can't escape. Find somebody and explain your character to them. And just enjoy explaining how your character started. What was their first adventure? What was their best adventure? What was their worst adventure? What's their gear? What do they look like? What do they hope to achieve? What are their party companions like? Do they like their friends? Do they not like their friends? Just describe your character. Oftentimes that will help unlock inspiration for you because you remember, oh yeah, I wanted to do that with the character next. Then another technique that I particularly like because it really encourages role-playing, and if anybody sees you, will of course get you committed faster than anything else to the loony bin, but you can have a conversation with your character. How many times have you sat down and said, right, my character's name is Patrick. Patrick, how are you doing? Well, I'm a little bit depressed at the moment. I don't seem to be able to get anything right. Oh. Why is that, Patrick? What are you currently doing? Well, currently we're in a dungeon and we're going through it, and well, there's monsters and things, but it's just not fun anymore. It's just boring. I don't know. Well, Patrick, why did you become an adventurer? What inspired you to become an adventurer? What did you like? What did you find fun? And how can you get back there? You can have this conversation with the character in your head. You don't have to articulate it like I did. But have the conversation with the character. Ask them what they liked, what they didn't like, what made them tick, what made them excited. What are their goals? What are their hopes? What are their dreams? What's driving them forward? And sometimes that can also help unlock your mind as to why you love the character so much. And literally, imagine the character sitting opposite you. You've got a great imagination, and I know it. Just imagine the character sitting there and have a conversation. Admire the character's armor. Have a tour of the starship with the character where they describe that this corridor leads down to engineering, and that's where Ensign O'Brien works, and this corridor leads down there, and that's where Yoda has his meditation classes, which I haven't been to in a while, actually. But yes, let's take the lift, and it'll take us up to the next deck. Have a conversation with your character. You'll be surprised. So those are just some of the ideas that I've come across when trying to unlock my mind as to how to carry on playing without hitting those roadblocks or feeling disenfranchised with the entire set, with the entire game, with the character. So I hope that helps. Maybe that answers the question a little bit as to how to overcome writer's block or creator's block or character block, and gives you pause for thought, that it is okay to sometimes take a break or sometimes to talk to yourself. Either way, it's bound to be a lot of fun. So until next time, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. If you aren't already subscribed, join our growing ranks as we surge forward in a quest to make sure that we all have a better gaming experience and that our games become truly, truly awesome. Until next time, happy playing.